The federal government has set aside 12.78 billion naira for the National Population Commission in the proposed 2026 budget. This money will go toward census activities, building new offices, and buying official vehicles for commissioners. The allocation appears in budget documents released by the Budget Office of the Federation following President Bola Tinubu's presentation of the full 58.18 trillion naira budget to the National Assembly on December 19, 2025. Out of the 12.78 billion naira total, 770 million naira has been earmarked specifically for the ongoing National Population and Housing Census project itself. This is the actual census exercise that Nigerians have been waiting for since 2006, when the country last counted its people. The largest single amount in the Commission's budget, 8.4 billion naira, will go toward constructing permanent office buildings for the Commission. Another 2.8 billion naira is allocated for purchasing official vehicles for federal commissioners who serve on the population body. The budget breakdown shows dozens of specific activities receiving funding. 54.6 million naira will support development of the National Population Data Bank, the Nigerian Population Data Management System, and the hosting of population geoportals and web portals. Nearly 2 million naira is set aside for preparing the Enumeration Area Demarcation Concept Manual, while 17.5 million naira will fund a second pretest of census instruments. Stakeholder conferences to present the 2018 census instruments will cost 7 million naira, and another 14 million naira will go toward upskilling staff in data collection and interviewing techniques. Census in schools has been allocated 7 million naira, while developing small area databases for spatial analysis will receive 1.82 million naira. Field demarcation work across Nigeria's 774 local government areas is budgeted at 1.4 million naira. Intercensal population activities, including population projections, sentinel surveys, the Nigerian Demographic and Health Survey, and development of small area level databases for analysis, have been allocated 12.39 million naira. Census publicity and advocacy efforts, including information campaigns through print and electronic media, will receive 173.11 million naira. This reflects the government's understanding that Nigerians need to know about the census and understand why it matters before enumerators arrive at their doors. Monitoring and evaluation of commission projects will cost 28 million naira, while research, documentation, and archiving, including studies on special populations such as herdsmen, fishermen, homeless persons, and migrant farmers, are also budgeted at 28 million naira. Some of the smaller but important line items include 1.61 million naira for cartographic consumables needed for the Enumeration Area Demarcation exercise and 49 million naira for amendment of the National Population Commission Act and prosecution of objections to the 2006 census. 245 million naira will expand registration centers and support the registration of births and deaths across the country. Generation of statistics on internal and international migration is budgeted at 24.5 million naira, as is population activity coordination in line with presidential directives. Specialized studies in demography, establishment of an e-library, and an annual population lecture series will receive 35 million naira, while commemoration of World Population Day and the annual Population Census Day is allocated 63 million naira. Budget preparation, verification of fixed assets, and updating financial documentation to meet international public sector accounting standards will cost 35 million naira. Nigeria has not conducted a national census in nearly 20 years. The last count happened in November 2006 and recorded a population of 140,431,790 people. Almost 2 decades later, the country is still struggling to complete preparations for a new count. The planned census has faced repeated setbacks under former President Muhammadu Buhari, including funding shortages, widespread insecurity, and major disruptions caused by the global pandemic. Despite efforts by the National Population Commission to deploy digital mapping and biometric systems to improve accuracy, the exercise was postponed again and again. The 2023 census was eventually shelved completely due to financial constraints and the transition to the new administration under President Tinubu, leaving much of the groundwork incomplete when President Buhari left office. Under the current government, renewed attempts to revive the census project have continued to face challenges. There is still no clear roadmap on the timing, methodology, or how to count Nigeria's large mobile populations, including millions of internally displaced persons who have fled their homes because of insecurity. During a meeting with National Population Commission officials on February 24, 2025, President Tinubu expressed his frustration over the prolonged delays. He made his position very clear when he said the stop-and-go activity on the census cannot work with him and that the country needs a definite path forward. In March, reports emerged that former National Population Commission Chairman Nasir Kwara submitted a 942 billion naira census budget to the president. President Tinubu rejected that proposal and demanded significant cost reductions. Sources familiar with the discussions revealed that the president even suggested deploying National Youth Service Corps members to support the census exercise as a way to bring down costs. If this story matters to you and you want to stay informed about how Nigeria's development funds are being spent, please take a moment to like this video, share it with others who care about accountability, and subscribe to Global View so you never miss important updates about policies that affect every Nigerian. President Tinubu subsequently set up a high-level committee on April 16th and directed it to present an interim report by May 7th. Months later, that report is still outstanding, leaving Nigerians in the dark about when exactly the census will happen. Recently, the newly appointed National Population Commission Chairman Aminu Yusuf pledged to conduct a modern, credible and technology-driven national census that would serve as a reliable foundation for Nigeria's development planning. These are good words, but Nigerians have heard promises before. The question many citizens are asking is whether this budget allocation of 12.78 billion naira will finally translate into action. Nigeria desperately needs accurate population data. Every major decision about resource allocation, infrastructure development, education planning, healthcare delivery, and political representation depends on knowing how many people live in each part of the country. Without current census data, the government is essentially planning in the dark, using estimates and projections based on figures that are nearly 20 years old. The population has changed dramatically since 2006. Birth rates, death rates, migration patterns, urbanization trends, and the impact of insurgency in the Northeast have all reshaped where Nigerians live and in what numbers. Young people born after the last census are now adults with families of their own, yet they have never been counted. Cities have exploded in size while some rural areas have emptied out. Without a census, no one knows the true picture. The delay also carries political implications. In Nigeria, population figures determine how many seats each state gets in the National Assembly, how federal resources are shared, and how electoral constituencies are drawn. The longer the country goes without a census, the more these political decisions rest on outdated assumptions. Some states may be getting more than their fair share of resources, while others are shortchanged, all because the data is old. For ordinary Nigerians, the impact is felt in daily life. Hospitals don't know how many patients to prepare for. Schools can't accurately plan for student numbers. Local governments struggle to provide services when they don't know exactly how many people they are serving. Businesses trying to expand or enter new markets lack reliable data about potential customers. International organizations and investors hesitate to commit resources when basic population statistics are uncertain. The 12.78 billion naira budget for the National Population Commission represents both hope and skepticism. The hope is that after years of false starts, Nigeria will finally conduct the census it desperately needs. The skepticism comes from watching previous attempts fail despite good intentions and big announcements. The funds allocated seem modest compared to the 942 billion naira proposal that was rejected earlier. Whether this leaner budget can deliver a credible, comprehensive census across a country as large and complex as Nigeria remains to be seen. What happens next will reveal whether the government is serious about finally counting Nigerians or whether this is just another budget line item that produces little real change. The National Population Commission has the money allocated. Now it must show Nigerians a clear plan, a realistic timeline, and the political will to see it through. The country has waited enough.